Keep him or leverage him? Cedric Mullins, one of those players the Birds have to decide on. The Birds looking to add a former major leaguer as a new coach. And Ryan O'Hearn, the Birds MVP so far. All the headlines are saying, do you keep him or do you trade him, leverage him? Hello, everybody. I'm Jon Leiberman. This is Orioles Digest. The Birds are 10.5 games out of the wild card. There's only one team worse than the Birds in the AL, and that is the team that they will face this weekend for a 3-game set, the Chicago White Sox. The White Sox are 12 out of the wild card. The Birds must sweep this series this weekend because they need to start racking up some runs some wins if they hope to be in that 6 to 7 game out range at the All-Star break, which is where I believe they need to be to not be sellers. But we're going to get to all of the headlines in a moment, including sources telling the New York Times that the Birds are going to hire John Mabry to come in and help with the coaching staff, and a bunch of other news as well. As always, like, subscribe, do all of the things. But we need to start with Ryan O'Hearn, and we need to start with our friends at Camden Chat. And this headline, Ryan O'Hearn is the front office's next big decision. Why is Ryan O'Hearn the next big decision? Well, it's very simple, actually. Ryan O'Hearn is not only the Orioles MVP right now, but arguably in the top 5 MVP candidates in the American League, at the very least. And you start to look at his numbers through 44 games. You know, he's got a 340, 426, 542 slash line. He's got an eye-popping OPS plus of 181 and almost 2 wins above replacement. We're going to dig into Ryan O'Hearn's complete stats in just a moment. But here's what it boils down to, in my mind. If the Orioles believe that the window to win is still now, and that window meaning not this year, most likely, but in the next 1 to 2 years, if the Orioles believe that window is still open, then you must hang on to guys, in my opinion, like O'Hearn, like Cedric Mullins, like Zach Eflin, like Tomoyuki Sugano. We're going to talk about all those guys during Orioles Digest. But you have to build around guys who are actually putting up the numbers, in addition to, obviously, the young stars you have, who you hope continue to grow and come along. You know, the Gunnar Hendersons, the Adley Rutschmans. Adley's been struggling. Jackson Holliday showing a lot of signs of life. And so this is really what it comes down to. If you believe the window is still open, then this question of what to do with Ryan O'Hearn is an easy one. If you believe the Orioles truly need to break it down again and go into rebuild mode because we either don't want to spend the money to keep these guys, or we truly believe that the window for now is closed, well, then you look at all the options. Do you deal them at the deadline? Do you wait till the end of the season and leverage it, in a trade in the offseason? Do you but these are the guys. These 4 are the free agents that the Birds are going to have to decide on. Let's get to some of the numbers at least. This is Ryan, 9 homers, 21 RBIs, he's 54 hits. He's not striking out a ton. You see his current slugging percentage is .550, and more so, he's bringing the energy. He's bringing the energy, and he's truly showing how valuable he is. And I want to look at this I want to look at this just really sweet swing for a second that we saw in St. Louis. I mean, just driving it to the deepest part of the park. And it's just so great to see Ryan O'Hearn doing that. Not only a great guy, but a guy who is just mashing right now, absolutely mashing. I want the Birds to keep Ryan O'Hearn and do what they need to do, because you got to have these guys who are performing day in and day out. You got to have them on the club. Speaking of got to have them on the club, look at Ced's numbers. I mean, Ced is solid this year with his 10 dingers and 31 RBIs. You know, he's getting his hits. Probably not walking quite as much as we'd like to see him walk, but he's still stealing some bases. He's got his slugging percentage at 448. And, you know, Cedric Mullins can still play baseball. Cedric Mullins has been here a long time. I argue the Birds need to keep Cedric Mullins as well. And then, of course, you know, you go back to, you know, the pitching staff. And I believe this pitching staff is going to look a lot different come August. So I don't think that the Orioles should leverage Zach Eflin or Tomoyuki Sugano at the deadline, despite the fact they're both going to be free agents at the end of the year. They've both performed, you know, and if you think about keeping those two around, and then you think about the possibilities of getting Grayson back, we updated you on last edition on Kyle Bradish, hopefully back in August, and Tyler Wells. You have Trevor Rogers pitching pretty well. Cade Povich is coming along, a work in progress. Dean Kramer has been outstanding. Now you're talking about, you know, really putting together not only a formidable rotation for the back part of this season, but hopefully leading into next season, where potentially you may only have to add a piece here and a piece there. Is David Rubenstein going to have to come up with money to do it? 100%. 100%. I still believe the Orioles are within their window to win. It may not be this year. It's not looking good. But let me caveat that by saying you sweep the White Sox, you get 2 out of 3 in this series, you get 2 out of 3 in this series. Next thing you know, you're 6 games out of the wild card at the break, and you're thinking to yourselves, we're getting guys healthy, we can come back and make a run. Speaking of making a run, I do want to share with you something out of The Athletic this morning. This is John Mabry. You may know him. He was an outfielder, a first baseman, a coach with the Cards, the Royals, the Marlins. And sources are telling The Athletic, the New York Times, that he's up for a job as a senior advisor on Tony Mansolino's staff. Look, Mabry's 54. He's been around, and I'm all for this. You know, this is a guy who could hopefully add some experience, some big league experience, some, calmness in the dugout, and hopefully work with some of the younger guys as well, because he has been around so long. Keep your eyes on that. But again, the big news that I really wanted to cover was the headline involving Ryan O'Hearn out of Camden Chat. It's the front office's next big decision. I think it's a no-brainer. I say keep him. This is Orioles Digest. I'm Jon Leiberman.